Good morning, I'm Steve Thompson, President of Emery Thompson Machinery, and welcome to our Lunch with the President. Mr. Obama won't be here today, so I'm going to fill in as President, and hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to concentrate on Italian ices and sorbets, though Jeff is here, Tie-Dye Jeff, you remember him from previous broadcasts. Good morning, good to see you.
And it's not only ices, I'll be back with ice cream in a little while.
Yeah, really fantastic ice cream, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But we have a special guest today, Rod Oringer. Come on over, Rod, for a second. And Rod is from I.Rice Company, which, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
Good
nice
to see you.
you.
He came all the way down from the great city of Philadelphia, and I.Rice Company is, without question, the best Italian ice flavors that you can use, or if you're from Philadelphia, they call it Italian water ice. So we're going to do a lot of that today because there's been a lot of requests that we do a show like this, and although I'll be telling you about the machines and some other things, we're going to concentrate primarily on Italian ice. So Rod, I'll see you in a few minutes.
I'll be over here, Steve.
Okay, and I'm going to start with a blueberry wine sorbet. The only difference between Italian ice and sorbet is the price. It's still sugar, water, and flavor. Those are the three main ingredients. So our main ingredients today are going to be a pound of sugar, 24 ounces of water, the blueberry wine, and some fresh blueberries. Oh, before I do that, I wanted to give a shout out to a few people. Sampong over in Bangkok, welcome. I know it's in the early evening over there, getting into late evening, and I welcome you and thank you and all your customers for tuning in. Greg Briggs over in Australia, New Zealand, even later over there. And thanks for stopping by. And a special hello to Dawn Lewis. She's over in Altamont Springs. Dawn was in here about 4 months ago to a lunch with the president, and already she has a store that has just opened up in Altamont Springs. That's just outside of Orlando. And so if you're ever coming down to Disney, the store is called Dippity, and it's on North State Road in Altamont Springs. Really a destination, a place that you should stop to see. Speaking of which, Rod was going to stop by and see Dawn this afternoon, but I'm going to keep so busy here. And then we're going out to a tiki bar and have little drinks with umbrellas in them. So I'm afraid he won't get there, but we'll get him down for another trip. So we're going to get started. One ground rule: if you have a question, either in the audience or watching over the internet, just raise your hand and tell me, because the question is pertinent to what we're doing right now. You don't want to do it, raise your hand 20 minutes later on something that we moved on to. So please, just stop me. I'm like a used car salesman. I can talk forever. In fact, I can talk for 5 hours straight, which is what I'm going to do today. If you're in the internet audience, you can email in. Ken, how do they do that? Ken is our board operator today.
They can send email to steve@emerythompson.com, and I'll be checking that today for questions. They can also use the chat feature on the Ustream page to ask me questions directly.
So Ken will point the finger at me and tell me that I have a question, and although I'll try to ignore him, I will answer the question. Let's see, a couple other things. Tie-Dye has a new book out of some of his fantastic recipes. Even he won't even tell me what's in some of these recipes. They're secret, but they're in his book, and I highly recommend that. I also promote, and I'll be mentioning it from time to time, Incredible Ice Cream by Malcolm Stogo. It's got over 300 recipes in here for ices, ice cream, and gelato. And I always tell people, I don't cook. I'm like any guy. I can cook on a grill, but otherwise than that, I don't cook. But if you told me I had to make a perfect pancake, I would go get a cookbook like The Joy of Cooking and read the recipe and follow it, and it would come out perfect. And that's what this book does for you too. So we have that available for sale. I'm not here to promote books. I'm here to promote you getting into the business and learning the best way to do it. And sometimes a good recipe is a simple way. If you call Rod Oringer over at I.Rice, he has all the formulas for Italian ice, and nobody does it better than he. So that's a phone call, a phone number, and an address we'll give you in a little while. One other thing I wanted to point out, and then we'll get going, is there is a website that I subscribe to. It's a blog. It's called Ice Cream Folks at yahoogroups.com. And this is a group of people. It started in New England, but it's spread worldwide. And we're a great group. You can call up and ask any question or email in and ask any question. All we ask is that you tell us where you're located, and your name would be nice too. The reason we want to know where you're located is if you're asking where to get fresh Mount Rainier cherries, and you're in Hong Kong, well, it's going to be a little difficult. So we need to know your location so we can recommend where to buy what it is you want to produce. But that's a good group to keep in mind. I go to this all the time and ask questions. We have some characters on board, me being one of them, Malcolm's another. Gary, you'll get to know. Gary knows absolutely everything, according to Gary. And unfortunately, I have to say, he usually is correct. Steve Rapucci runs it. And Steve is a genius in the ice cream business. He's a very calm, relaxed guy, unlike me, and he has all the answers. So we're going to get going.
Rod Oringer offers insight into ice cream folks.
Oh yes, Rod Oringer is there too, and Rod is another one of the characters. The great thing about Rod is anybody calls up and asks for any flavor or whatever, and Rod is the first to step up and say, "I'll send you a sample." You know, it's very hard to get these companies to send out samples nowadays, but Rod does it, you know, in a heartbeat. And that's great, because how can you know if you're going to like the product if you can't just try a little bit of it? So he's been extremely helpful on Ice Cream Folks with that, and with you, that if you need to try something. It doesn't mean he's going to send you a case of mango, but you'll get a taste of it so that you'll know that this is really a great product. And of course, we'll be doing that today. We're going to start with the CB350, which is our countertop machine. It's become our most popular. One reason being price. It's $9,650. And there's a lot of people out there, and it's something to be, I'm very proud of you all who have decided that unfortunately life circumstances and the Obama recession has caused you not to have a job, and you say, I'm going to keep working, I'm not going on welfare. And what I try to put you into is Italian ice, because the ingredients are basically sugar, water, and flavor. The food costs, which Rod will talk about, are incredibly low, which means if you get $1.50 for a 4-ounce portion of Italian ice, you're going to keep most of that money. And that's a great way to make money, work hard, and with this machine, a 3-compartment sink and a dipping cabinet, that's where we serve it, you're going to be in business. So I'm going to start off with something fancy, the Bordeaux wine sorbet, so let me get mixing that. What's this?
Water.
Okay, that's nice. I'm not thirsty, but I need 24 ounces. That's 24 ounces? Okay. It's in milliliters, and I'm not European.
Today, it's in ounces.
Oh, wow. Look at that. They make it both ways. How cool.
Already?
Yeah, well, that's what happens. Let's see. Before I turn my back on everybody, I need somewhere to mix it. How about a bigger bucket?
Why do you have to mix it? Oh, the sugar?
The sugar in the water. The reason I want to mix it is sugar is extremely abrasive. It acts like sandpaper. And so if I can mix it up and dissolve it, and it dissolves in cold water very fast. So we're going to put these two together. I already sanitized the machine. That means that we killed off any bacteria in it. A couple of ways to sanitize your machine. You can use a product called Sterasheen Green Label. That's STERA-SHEEN, and it's made by Purdy, P-U-R-D-Y products. So you can go to purdyproducts.com and see that. A simple way to sanitize if you're in a pinch, if you're out on a desert island and all you have is your Emery Thompson batch freezer, you can use a gallon of water to a cap full of Clorox bleach. Not a cup full, a cap full. A cap full of Clorox bleach and a gallon of water will kill off any bacteria. You run that through the machine and then you're good to go. So we've mixed that up. We're going to pour it in here. And add the wine. Glug, 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 glug. Florida is not known for its wine vineyards, but this is blueberry, and this is coming right out of Florida. So we're going to turn that on. This is my infinite overrun control. This is something I invented 11 years ago, and it's exclusive to Emery Thompson. We can vary the air content of the product by how fast we spin it. But for Italian ices, all you have to do is spin at full speed. I'm going to try to pour these in. I usually get a few of them on the floor, but the idea is the blueberries can go right into the machine. You can't do this with any other machine. Their dasher or beater is not strong enough, and the openings aren't wide enough. You'd have to puree. Oh, that's a good idea. That'll work. Jeff, I'm going to have you taste this before we freeze it. The nice thing about Italian ices is you can taste it before you freeze it and know exactly what you're going to get. With ice cream, the flavor blooms so that when we make the M&M ice cream today, it's going to be fantastic. But 24 hours later, it's going to be even better. Let me just shove those down in there. Because, Jeff, even though it's my recipe, I'm a little uncertain about the water content. So let me pull one of these, and I'll have you see if it's going to be okay. Yeah, well, that's why you're tasting it, not me. I'm going to lunch tomorrow, and I got to be there. Here, let me know how that is.
Perfect.
Oh, did you hear that? He actually said one of my products was perfect. Can we? You got that on tape, Ken? I want to play that back in a continuous loop.
He gave you the recipe.
All right. Well, isn't that what a sommelier does, or whatever they call those guys? A little too fancy for me. All right, we turn on the refrigeration, and we set a timer. This isn't a full batch, so I'm going to set it for about 8 minutes, and we'll take a look at it. Now, you'll notice that I'm using just a cheap timer that I paid $6 for, instead of putting a fancy one on this particular machine. The reason being is if I put it on the machine, it has to be NSF, which is National Sanitation Foundation. It has to be Underwriters Laboratories, UL. It has to have all those approvals. So this $6 timer ends up costing about $240. If it breaks, it takes down the whole machine. And then you got to pay another amount of money to get a refrigeration guy to come in and change it. So I just don't put it on the machine. I don't put any gadgets on the machine that are likely to just cause trouble. I can also carry this with me. I'm breaking my own rule. When I make ice cream or ices, I stay with the machine. I don't talk on the phone. I don't go off and pay bills. I am here to make ice cream and ices, so instead of walking around. But since this is portable, I can carry this with me and go into my office and see what's going on, and when the timer goes off, it gives me a good approximation that the product is ready. Another reason for not using a timer is that they are only an approximation. What varies the timing in making Italian ice and ice cream is the sugar content. Ice cream on my machines takes about 8 minutes, and ices about 16 minutes, 16, 17 minutes. That can vary depending on the sugar content. A lemon ice formula is relatively low in sugar compared to a strawberry ice. The reason is the strawberries are bringing natural strawberry sugar, fructose, to the formula. So the more sugar, the longer the freezing time. So if anyone ever tells you, oh, this machine makes ices in 17 minutes, period, that's not correct. In fact, I watched Paula bake, my wife, an office manager, and she sets a timer when she's baking an apple, a cake for, say, about 23 minutes. When the bell goes off after 23 minutes, she doesn't pull the vanilla cake out and say, okay, it's done. She goes over and gets a fork and tests it to see if it's done. The 23 minutes is only an approximation. So we're approximating how long it's going to take. The CB350.
Matters. which batch you're running that day. The first batch will take longer, and subsequent batches take less.
Right. If you didn't hear that clearly or understand Jeff, because he speaks in hippie, the first batch will take a little bit longer than the next batch. So a first batch of ice cream might take 9 minutes. The second batch will take 8 minutes. The 15th batch will still take 8 minutes. It doesn't get continually faster. If I rinse out the machine, then we're back to the 9 minutes. I want to show you how Emery Thompson began. We're 108 years old, not me, but the company is 108 years old, and we began with this. My grandfather was working in a department store down on 14th Street in New York City. Back in 1903, they didn't have ice cream parlors. You went to either a pharmacy or to a department store to get your ice cream. And so he was using the old hand crank salt and ice machine where you turn the crank and the bucket was surrounded by rock salt and ice. And that was your source of cold. And then your flavors went into the center cylinder, and that's what you turn the crank and the blades spun around, and after about 45 minutes they made a couple of quarts of ice cream. Well, he took this principle and patented the world's first batch freezer. About 17 years before the Italians ever made a machine, they tried to claim they invented the batch freezer. They didn't. It was a guy from New Rochelle, New York, who then opened up a factory in the Bronx. So we can take great pride in the fact that Americans invented the modern day ice cream machine. A batch freezer doesn't have a brain, so it doesn't know if you're making with this machine or this machine maple walnut ice cream or tiramisu gelato or cherry Italian ice. It's just like your oven. It's just, an oven is a big source of heat. This is just a big source of cold. So whatever we put in here, it's going to freeze and it's going to make it. In the old days, if you wanted to do gelato and American ice cream, you had to buy two machines. One set for gelato, one set for ice cream. Since I invented the infinite overrun control, we can slow this down to a speed where it's going to put less air in the product, and that is going to make a gelato, or a little higher would be a Haagen-Dazs, or we can go all the way up to the sorbets and run it at full speed. Sorbet and Italian ice. It sounds pretty simple. You say, well, gee, what's the big deal? You put a rheostat on the machine. In your dining room at home, you have a rheostat. You dim the lights to from 100 watts down to, say, a romantic 20 watts. Well, you're literally taking the power away from the light bulbs as you dim it down. So if we put a rheostat on a batch freezer, we're dimming down the power of the drive motor. We're taking it from a 3 horsepower motor down to a 1/4 horse. Well, at a 1/4 horse, it doesn't have enough torque or pulling power to pull through all that sugar water or all that ice cream. With the infinite overrun control, no matter what speed I set this at, it's still running at full power, full pulling power, full torque. That's what's so unique about it, and that's what nobody else has figured out how to run.
And pray tell, why did your grandfather go from a vertical batch freezer to a horizontal one?
All right, Jeff said, why'd we go from vertical to horizontal? The original machines, yes, they were vertical, and there's still companies out there today that are selling vertical batch freezers. In 1919, he decided that was primitive for a very simple reason. It's called Newton's law of gravity. Whatever goes up must come down. So in a vertical batch freezer, if you put Oreo cookies and M&Ms in at the top, they're going to sink to the bottom. No matter what anybody says, no matter what you do, gravity's going to pull them down, so that you'll have more M&Ms down here than you have up here. You have an uneven ice cream. By turning the cylinder sideways, which we did in 1919, now everything blends and mixes perfectly. So you get a better blended ice cream by using a horizontal batch freezer. It's also, as you'll see, easier to discharge the product when it's ready. So I'm just taking a look at this. So let's see how we're doing. That's almost ready. It's a little bit on the soft side, but it's getting very close. And so we're just going to let it go a little bit longer, and then we'll have our product. Now see, that was an approximation, and I kind of knew that's how much time had gone by. We'll just get it a little bit longer to freeze it a little bit stiffer, and then this will be ready to go. It's going to push out all the product out of the machine, and if I was going to continue with this machine, if I have just made blueberry sorbet, I might go to then blackberry sorbet, something darker. Or another way of looking at starting with lemon ice, then orange ice, because lemon and orange are in the same family. The orange is a little darker than the lemon. And then I might go to a cherry ice, which will cover over the orange. And then I would go to a grape ice, which is going to cover over that one. So I'm not continually rinsing out the machine. I'm planning my production so that I don't have to do extra steps. If you plan your production that you're going to go from a chocolate ice to a lemon ice, yeah, you're going to have to clean the machine out. So you want to avoid that. Let me take another look. Yeah, that looks good. It's getting a drier look to it up top here. It has a nice dry effect to it. And if you'll just pour this out for me, and then because I don't want to mix in the liquid, and then I'm going to take it all out of the machine. That's good, thanks. Does anybody notice that Jeff wears the same shirt over and over again? You know, back in his era, we didn't bother washing.
But we can't afford these fancy shirts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Tip number 1 today, ice cream on cheap here. All these machines have this shelf here. If you get a piece of that rubber draw shelf liner stuff and just cut a piece, nothing will slip off and fall off your ice cream. And that saves a lot of spilled product.
It also works well in your car. If you drive like I do, your cell phone is always flying around the car, but by taking Jeff's tip, which I did, I put some rubber on the dashboard, and now my phone stays put. This is ready to go. Let's take a look at this and see how that comes out. That's a nice stiff product. And we could take that right to the table and serve it, or we could have pulled it out a little softer. Whoop, missed. I mess up a lot of stuff. Like I said, I didn't make a full batch here today because I just wanted to show you this. This will be very popular in the office, the wine sorbet. And so we'll shut that down, and that's what it looks like. Now, if I'd made a full batch, I would have filled this up, and then there'd be some extra. So there's what it looks like. Let me point that out to the camera. That's a beautiful product ready to go. And
Looks like too.
yeah, thank you, Jeff. So, you want to come up and try this? Let me get you, instead of the squeeze cups, I'll get you some bowls, Jeff. Because Rod's going to show them the squeeze cups. Do you put ice in squeeze cups?
I don't, but I know people that do.
Okay.
Come on, Greg.
Come on up and have that. I'm sorry, you two guys can't have it. They're under 21, just barely. They're around 19 or so. These are paid extras that we flew in. They've been told to agree with everything that Jeff says and to just boo and hiss me.
No, that comes naturally.
Oh, okay.
Question, Steve?
Yes.
It's a nice small batch. Can you make smaller?
No.
As it comes?
That would be as small a batch as you can make. But my feeling is if you're looking to make small batches all the time, it's a flavor people don't like. Because you should be making full batches. It's something that wants to sell. It's like the lady who made bubblegum licorice ice cream, and she asked me 10 months later, was it still good in her freezer? I said, yes, it's as good as the day you made it because you're storing it 30 below zero. But if you're making bubblegum licorice ice cream, it's a flavor nobody likes.
This actually is the wine that does have alcohol in it?
Yes.
Does that take longer to freeze because it has alcohol in it?
Any other machine on the market, you can't put wine into the machine. They're not strong enough to handle it because the alcohol never freezes. It only stays in suspension. So you have to have a strong enough refrigeration system that it will freeze it down in suspension, which you can see this did very nicely.
So, I mean, this actually would be illegal to serve.
This would be legal because of the alcohol content is fairly low. I'm taking wine and diluting it down because it's wine. We've made some with Kentucky bourbon. I got to move you to the side. You're right in front of the camera. We've made ice cream with Kentucky bourbon, and it's about as illegal as you can get. My uncle, Uncle June, Emery Thompson Jr., they always called him June for Junior. Nobody ever made fun of his name. He was a big guy, and he used to make rum raisin ice cream. He would take golden raisins and put them in a bowl and pour Crucian rum over it and let it sit for 5 days in the refrigerator. You know, and then he'd go by every day and sample it and make sure it was right. And then he would pour the whole batch into the batch freezer, and it made a fantastic rum raisin ice cream for holidays like Christmas. You bite into a raisin and you get a little squish of real rum. That's not something you can sell in your store, but it's nice to do for private parties. So we're going to ask, yes, Jeff?
What?
You were going to say something?
Oh, I sell it.
Oh, okay. So let's move this back, and we'll bring out the next size, which is a 12 quart. All my machines are by finished capacity. By that I mean, if you look at some of the other machines like Cappigiani, what they do is they take the cylinder and they fill it with water, and they say, okay, that holds 20 quarts of water, therefore it's a 20-quart machine. Well, that's not fair. That's not what it produces. That's what it holds. If this is a 12-quart machine, it produces up to 12 quarts or 3 gallons of ice cream or ices in its allotted amount of time. If I was to take the cylinder and fill it with water, it would actually be a 17-quart machine. But that's dishonest. So we rate them by finished capacity. The 12 and the 24. The 12 is going to make, let me just show it to you this way. The 12 is going to make 1 3-gallon tub of product. The 24 is going to make 2 tubs. They're the same machine as far as dimensions. It's just that the barrel is longer. The 24 costs $2,000 more because of the bigger barrel. So it pays to buy a 24 if you're in that business.
Step forward.
Okay. And hands behind my back? Or so Rod, you're up. Come on over, and we're going to have you make, what's first on your list?
Well, today we're going to make a couple of classic styles of Italian ice, one being the soft, creamy kind, which dips in an ice cream cabinet, and the second style would be your classic Philadelphia-style water ice. Okay, so we're going to start with the soft, creamy style sorbet water ice. And one of the things Steve mentioned earlier that's important and tends to be a misnomer in the industry is water ice, sorbet, tub slush, they're all the same thing. They're all non-dairy frozen desserts. Sorbet tends to be recognized as a higher-end type product, and it can be sold at a higher price than an Italian ice. And oftentimes we want to make sure that we put fruit juice or fruits in the sorbets, but a lot of Italian ices out there today have the same type of fruit juice and things like that in there. In fact, I know you like that fruit to just about every Italian ice you make if it's a fruit-flavored product.
I like to see some pieces in
Right.
there. It gives some appeal to it. I used to have a customer who, if he could use artificial water, he would. He used corn sugar instead of cane sugar because it was cheaper. He used the cheapest flavor he could possibly get, and then he took about 4 lemons and cut them up and threw them into the machine. So when you got a cup of his lemon ice, there's this piece of inedible lemon in it, and your reaction is, oh man, look at that, it's a real fresh ice. Well, the only thing natural in that whole batch was his piece of lemon. You know, it was just
And
all...
the water. And the water.
Well, yeah, the water, if he could buy sewer water because it was cheaper, he would.
Yuck. Nice. So we'll make, first we'll make a mango ice, okay? I need 1 gallon and 1 quart of water,
Okay,
and then we can just,
coming right up.
What's your need?
Yeah, please.
Which water?
So
Gallon-
using
gallon and a
I.Rice
quart.
water ice recipes, let me go back. I.Rice is a 100-year-old company founded by a fellow named Isidore Rice. The company is now owned by Steve Kuehl and is run on a day-to-day basis by Steve's son-in-law, Joe DiMidio, who's the COO of the company. I.Rice has long been recognized for the leader in Italian ice, in the flavor systems, as well as the stabilization systems. And really, this whole ice trend is founded on I.Rice. There are other flavor companies out there, of course, that are riding the coattails of this, and that's the way it always is in any industry. But Rice is really the leader in this industry. We make different styles of flavor systems. The primary source of flavor system and the higher end product is our water ice bases. The mango that we'll be making today is unmatched in the industry. The flavor profile it's magnificent. And I can tell you that as a competitor to I.Rice for 30-something years, the one thing I could never do was match this mango flavor, and believe me, we tried. I decided after 30 years, since I couldn't beat them, I might as well join them, and I've been with I.Rice for 22 years. So saying that, I'll digress for a minute. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. My family's business was Oringer Company, and we were leaders in the ice cream ingredient side of things. So I went to work in my family's business 30-something years ago. Took the company to a national level, working for another company, but left there 22 months ago and joined I.Rice.
Here's your water.
Which machine am I making it on?
What's that?
Do you know which machine I'm on?
I think here. We're alone.
Where did the president
inmates are
go?
running the asylum.
There's the president.
Which machine are we using?
We're using the 12-quart right there. You guys in the audience are pretty quiet. Any questions
Right here.
so far?
They're nervous.
They're nervous?
You want your water in first, or you?
Yeah, let's put that in.
Now, also, at least once a day, we pour the product in here with the gate open, and of course, it goes on the floor. So if you see me start to do that, and you're sadistic in any way, you won't say anything. If you're writing this recipe down, it's 5 quarts, right?
5 quarts of water, 64 fluid ounces of I.Rice sorbet base, 64 fluid ounces of mango water ice base.
Now, this is half batch, or half of what the 24-quart is.
Correct.
So you just put one of those in.
I'm just going to eyeball this, but we're shooting for 64 ounces.
Okay.
You can measure if you want.
No, that's no fun.
That's no fun.
Okay, you can take
If I can't do 64 ounces after 30 years,
30, 64, okay, 94 ounces.
nope. Now, Steve, we have some fruit to put in this, yes?
Yes, good idea.
We'll add that as we start.
Okay.
That looks well right.
I think this adds a nice touch to it, is to add some pieces of fruit. An easy way to do that is to buy frozen fruit at the supermarket. It's consistent throughout the year. It's a great product. It adds some texture to the product. People get real chunks of mango and say, oh, that's fantastic. So I do like to do that. Can you use fresh fruit? Yes. But I'll tell you a quick story while we're doing this about living in Florida. Of course, we're the orange capital of the world, and the orange crop goes from November until about late March. In November, the oranges are absolutely horrible. They are tart, they're bitter, they're awful, you wouldn't want to eat them. In March, it's like eating candy, they're so good. But when you buy orange juice, Tropicana, Minute Maid, whether it's frozen or in the jar, it always tastes the same. And that's because they buy the oranges throughout the growing season and then they blend it so that your orange juice is always the same. So the problem with using fresh fruit is inconsistency. Right now, we're having in Plant City, Florida, we're having the Strawberry Festival. The strawberries they're unbelievable. They're so sweet. Well, the strawberries a month and a half ago were absolutely horrible. So by buying frozen, you have a consistent product. You can't tell people, oh, I'm sorry, my mango Italian ice is lousy in July, but come back in March, it's wonderful. The only one you can do that with is, and I like to do, is like, say, fresh peach. I love to do fresh peach. If you're up north, peaches are in season in, August? I think is the growing season. And there's nothing better than having a peach Italian ice in August, and then when peaches are off the market, take it off the market. People will be so angry, they'll say, where's the peach Italian ice? Well, sorry, peaches are out of season, come back next year. You'll have them lined up next year. This works for ice cream and ices. You're all set to go?
We're ready to go.
Okay, so we're gonna turn on the beater.
About 10 minutes, I think.
Okay, and this is set for full speed. We're gonna turn on the refrigeration. And that's running, and now we're going to pour in some mango chunks. Sound good? You want to wait a little bit?
I usually wait to add fruit until you're about halfway through the run.
Okay.
That's just who I am.
We have a timer? Yeah, if you can just grab that timer behind you.
So we've set this for about 10 minutes. I don't usually go by time. I'm looking for consistency of product, and basically, if the product looks like the consistency of soft mashed potatoes, it's ready to pull.
Yeah, but it also gets lost.
So what we've added here, the sorbet base, is the stabilization system. This will give you that soft, creamy texture that you're looking for in an ice cream cabinet. This will stand up for 4 or 5 days in a cabinet without bleeding out. The mango base, we didn't add any sugar to this product. Okay, most recipes do require sugar. We've added the sugar here and here. So this is the simplest process you can use for making a sorbet or a water ice base. 1 part sorbet base, 1 part water ice base, 2.5 gallons of water. Do you have any citric acid?
We didn't use citric acid.
Do you have any?
No.
Okay. So I normally would add citric acid to any fruit, not only in ice bases, but in ice cream. Okay. When you process fruits, when we as manufacturers process fruits, we're driving out that natural acidity. You have to add that back somehow. Okay, so anytime you're making ices or ice cream, you should add back citric acid. And of course, the level of citric acid goes with the tartness of the fruit. So with the lemon or an orange, which are very tart fruits, you may want to add up to 2 ounces of citric acid to a 2.5 gallon batch. In ices, you're adding up to 6 ounces to the lemon and orange. For mango, in this product, I would normally add about 2 ounces of citric acid.
You want to be careful with the citric acid because if you overdo it, it makes you feel like your throat is closing up. It's got that effect. So you don't want to overdo it, but these small amounts that Rod's talking about are perfect. I hope you caught what Rod said at the very beginning of this. It's going to be for this batch approximately 10 minutes, but that he doesn't go by time, he goes by eyeballing it. Again, it's not rocket science. If it was, we wouldn't be up here, or if it was, we'd be dressed like the Italians with the hat and the fancy outfit and the spectrograph measuring the sugar, none of which we care about. We care about how it looks and how it tastes. So just like in baking, we have approximations, but it's not an exact science. There are variations, mainly depending on the sugar content. I'm going to go off camera for a second and roll something out. I want to show you, while Rod's doing this, what a dipping cabinet looks like. So I'm going to go grab that. I'm just going to come by you for a second. This is what we use for Italian ices for a dipping cabinet. This one was made by Nelson Manufacturing, another family business. It's about 16 years old and running beautifully. This is the other type of dipping cabinets are called a visual display cabinet. That's what you see in a gelateria or an ice cream parlor where you can see the product. I like these because ice cream hard ice cream is scooped at 6 degrees above zero. Italian ice about 16 degrees above zero. And so it's almost 10 degrees warmer. That can vary a few degrees depending on your formula. But the thing is, these hold their temperature better. They cost less because it's not all the glass, but they hold their temperature very well. I don't know what the proper term for this is, but I call it the floppy door cabinet because the lid flops back on itself. Nelson Manufacturing makes these, so does Masterbuilt and Globe. 3 great American companies. Unlike my machines, which are sold to you direct because I don't feel that dealers can give you the proper knowledge that we can, they all sell these through dealers. So when you buy a dipping cabinet, you're looking for a cheap paper pusher because all they're going to do is they're going to write the order, send it to the factory, collect the money, and boom, it's delivered. So I use a company called turnkeyparlor.com. That's TURNKEYPARLOR.com. That's Neil Williams, and Neil is a very honest and low-priced paper pusher. And he's also a great guy. But you're looking for a great price on these American-made cabinets, and that's the place to go look. These hold their temperature very well. One little trick, this is only a 2-flavor dipping cabinet. One little trick is this cabinet is surrounded all the way around with tubing, which carries the refrigerant. So the walls get cold all the way around. Now we say it's set at 16 degrees, but not all 16 degrees are equal in a cabinet. Over here in this corner, the cabinet's 16 degrees, but in this corner, we have refrigeration hitting the tub here and here. So it's getting more refrigeration here than it is here. The higher the sugar content of the product, the more soft it runs. So a lemon ice is pretty low in sugar, and in this corner could tend to harden up. The strawberry has a lot of sugar in it, or the mango, so put in the center here, it could tend to run soft. So the proper way to set up your cabinet is put your softer flavors in the 4 corners and your other flavors towards the center. Then you'll have even distributing. Never get into a fight with someone who scoops Italian ice because you see them going down like this, and they may be of diminutive size, but they got a right arm that'll kill you. So don't fight with an Italian ice server. And sometimes you'll see them scooping like this. Can I have a lemon ice? Sure. And they grab what we call a squeeze cup, the proper or the real term for this, because nobody outside of New York or Philadelphia knows what a squeeze cup is. It's called a pleated water cup, like a lady's dress. It's pleated. And we fill it with ice, and we squeeze it up from the bottom and eat it that way. But you'll see, if you go into an old-time pastry shop, you'll see the server going like this, and then putting the ice in and handing it to you. What's happening is, over time, a little bit of the lemon, if it's lemon ice, is separating out, and the server is just remixing it a little bit before they serve it to you. Another reason we don't want the visual display cabinet, because we don't really want you to see that. But that's all they're doing. It's still a wonderful, fresh product. Yes, the sorbet base has some products in it we call stabilizers, which help bond the product together. Rod can tell you more about that.
I was going to wonder if he was going to let me do that. He invited me here to talk about this. He can talk for 5 hours. I'm not a good talker.
Did you want me to fill in for you?
No. You stay over there with Wild Jeff.
Yeah.
So we just added some fruit here, and the reason why I added it right now is I'm listening to the machine. When you originally put this in, you hear a lot of sloshing. You hear the water sloshing around. I'm not hearing that now. I'm hearing more of a humming note. So I know we're about maybe 3/4 of the way where we want to be. That's when I want to add the fruit. So to answer your question, Steve's talking about classic style Italian ice here, unstabilized product that he's serving out of this product, out of this machine. What we're making here is a stabilized ice, a stabilized sorbet that can be served in a standard ice cream cabinet and dipped at 6 to 8 degrees, same temperature as ice cream. Because it's stabilized, it's going to hold its uniformity and scoop soft and creamy. The product we'll make next is a classic style Philadelphia ice with no stabilization. The thing about Philadelphia style versus the soft creamy style is you need to stir the product. You need to get a long urn, spoon type thing, and get into that ice and stir it up every, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, because you get separation in it. Okay, but serving it out of the pleated water cups there, that is classic New York and Philadelphia. I didn't realize that's what you were asking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fun to give someone, that's a 3-ounce cup. Usually we would sell a 4-ounce. Thanks to McDonald's, with the quarter-pound burger, quarter pound is 4 ounces, but it sounds so much bigger to call it a quarter pound of Italian ice. And so we, just squeeze it up and eat it like that, and then you throw that in the trash, and it's great fun. That's another way to serve it there. I could take the same product and put it in some fine china and have a piece of mango and then put the mango ice on it. Now it's a nice mango sorbet for a high-end restaurant.
I think we got like another minute or so here.
Okay, whatever you say. When it's ready, Ken's going to shoot from that angle, so you can come over here.
I'll be over here.
He's going to, he wants to shoot it coming out so people can see what it looks like. So I'll step out of your way.
So this mango ice, water ice base has mango fruit juice in it, and a lot of the rice water ice bases do have fruit or fruit juice concentrate in there. So they're higher end products and just using standard flavors. Later this afternoon, we'll make another ice using a concentrated flavor system and a stabilizer, which is a similar way to make ice here, but instead of using fruit and fruit juice, we're just going with the flavor system. And one of the things I wanted to mention is we're talking about Philadelphia style ice or New York style ice and sorbet. Tub slush is the same thing, and people in New England, I'm going to give you guys a shout out over there, New England guys, and one New Yorker. Slush is what it's called in the Northeast, all through New England. It's tub slush. There's a fellow up there, Richie Cardulo, who's the leader in tub slush up there, but it's the same. It's Italian ice. It's non-dairy frozen dessert.
We also, at my end of the industry, we call it Rhode Island ice because that's pretty much where it got its start. And frozen lemonade is the same product. Down here at the amusement parks, Universal, Disney, SeaWorld, we all sell frozen lemonade. In fact, Universal Studios has had 4 of my biggest machines since 1991, running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The machines don't break down. That's the way we build them. The average life of my machine is 45 years. In fact, they just ordered another one because the volume
You're not even
is
that
so
old,
high.
are you, Steve?
Not quite. Yes, question.
How does Universal serve their product?
Universal Studios serves their product. It's very interesting. They take it out of the machine. Let me grab a tub. In fact, we'll use this to show everybody.
Take a look at it.
They take a tub and they line it with a plastic bag. They pull it out of the machine, twist tie the bag, and then put it into the freezer. And then as they need it, they're then remixing it a little bit, like Rod was saying, and then sending it out into the park. They called me back down. They said, we're losing 32% of our ice delivering around the park at 107 degrees. And they thought I was going to come down. I said, I'll solve your problem. Don't worry about it. They thought I was going to come down and recommend golf carts that were outfitted with refrigeration and stuff like that. I walked in with one of those round igloo coolers like you see at a job construction site for the employees with the to hold the cold water. We're not using the spigot. We're just taking that tub and lining it with the plastic bag, dumping it right in here and putting the lid on it. And it'll keep for hours, and that's how they transport it around. I've got another product over here I'll show you. And then I'll get out of the way here. This is something pretty neat that I found. This is made by Carlisle. Carlisle. And this is like a blue ice that you put into a child's lunchbox. It's got a gel in here that you take this and you freeze it down in your freezer overnight, and then you can put your tub of ice in it. We did it here. It lasted for 6.5 hours of scoopable product. Now, I'm not talking about melting away, just scoopable. These are about $70 from Carlisle, and so if you had a push cart, it solves a lot of problems. You can just put it, right into here. Carlisle has this funny spelling. It's Carlisle. I guess if you live in Pennsylvania, that's not a funny spelling, but that's all it is.
We're at about
Yes,
15 minutes, right?
you can use this with ices and
How long
ice
did you
cream.
wait? You- on the other
It
one?
gets nice and cold and stays
Wine-
cold. It's a wonderful
you made first, and then
delivery
you made
system.
About 13, 15.
How you guys doing?
I think we're ready.
Okay. Turn off the refrigeration over on the
Turn
far
it
side.
off.
He's only been running these things, he said, for 30 years.
Well, you
Okay.
know, he says that, but I have to tell the truth. I haven't made a batch of ice cream in probably 20 years.
Oh,
I have to be
he's like a
honest.
limousine liberal. You know,
Well-
he's just out there driving around.
Times change, but I'm back to earth now. I've
Oh,
come back.
good. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So just let it
Okay.
rip. Look how fast that comes out. The opening is so large that we can just dump all that in no time at all. You want a gelato pan?
Sure.
Here's,
You got one?
what do you want to do?
Finish dumping it?
Squeeze cup you these,
Yeah.
or balls?
I guess bowls. But I want to show you one product. This is Italian ice, but look at this. Through the magic of television, now we have a fresh fruit mango sorbet that we can get about $6 for in a restaurant. It's the same product. The only difference is we're putting it in a nicer container. Instead of the bowl or the squeeze cup, this is going to get $1.50. This is going to get $6. So all of you going into the Italian ice business, don't limit yourself just to selling Italian ice. Remember that you're also making fresh fruit sorbets.
And this is getting melted, so
Come on up and try it.
Sure.
You have mango?
Yes, he can. I'm going to try this.
I got
Shut
freaked
that off,
out.
Steve.
Yeah, please.
Am I just
The
going?
red button. Oh, that is so good.
Previous batch where you did the water.
That is fantastic.
Excuse me?
This is synonymous with the previous batch where you did the water and the sugar and so on. The same, sort of the same function.
No, this is the stabilization system. So in the first batch, they didn't use any
I
stabilizer.
understand
It was
that. This
just-
is this plus stabilizers.
Correct. Correct. So,
But it serves the same.
I don't think there's any better way to make mango ice than
keeps
this.
it
I
from
mean,
melting
this I.Rice has just got
faster.
mango
Is it
not
stable?
perfect.
provides
It's just
texture to the
product.
Texture.
product.
So
Now,
it's
if you notice
actually
when you-
cut
What are we making next?
Cherry, I think.
Cherry?
creamy. Less ice.
Okay.
So you put it into the cabinet and firm up more.
Into a different temperature.
All right, Rod, guess what? You're up next.
Well, up next,
You're up next. Do you want me to rinse the machine, or are you just going to, what are we making next?
we're
Cherry?
making cherry.
So we can cover over the mango, or do you want a quick rinse?
Let's do a quick.
All right. We'll throw in a little
You know what,
water.
we don't need to.
No.
Yeah, I think we should.
There's a basis,
Should we? Jeff says we should.
All right, there's a debate going on whether or not we should rinse, and Jeff always wins out, so.
you said it's scoopable at 6 degrees. If we were to use the same base, it would be, would the consistencies change if you were at the higher temperature at the 60
Okay.
degrees?
It would be softer.
It would be soft.
It would be softer. Right.
Yes.
What do you want to put that in, to put it in the freezer?
I'm not going to keep it.
So I'm going to throw out a money-making opportunity here.
I don't have enough tubs to keep it.
Using sorbet,
Yeah, I knew.
it's
I knew you would.
one of the big trends out there today, of course, is drinks. Different styles of drinks. If you take a sorbet base, put it in a 16-ounce cup with about 10 ounces of sorbet base, about 10 ounces of Sprite or Mountain Dew or some clear soda, put it on a blender for a few seconds, you get a frozen drink that's just perfect for the kids. A good friend of mine gave me that recipe, and I'm going to give a shout out to Tom and Lori Zach, who make this product in their ice cream shop on a regular basis. They make sorbet, and then they make these brain freezes, and the kids love them. You're talking about 2 or 3 cents an ounce cost, and you're selling these drinks for $275, $375, so they're huge money makers. So it can be any sorbet base, any clear soda, 16-ounce drink, 10 ounces of sorbet, 6 ounces of soda. On the spindle for a few seconds. There you go, kids. Have a great time.
A great thing about Italian ice is it's so refreshing. On a hot day, to have sugar, water, and flavor just cools you right off. SeaWorld was probably the first people to do this in an amusement park. You know, they're getting about $50 or $60 a ticket for the day. And so I know from past experience, you take 4 kids to SeaWorld and you're dropping a lot of money, and by 2 in the afternoon they're hot, they're tired, they're cranky, so am I, and you need a break. Well, you go buy them a frozen lemonade and a tall cup of it. You know, they also sell it like this, as frozen lemonade. And you give a child a nice big tall cup of that and say, here, you go sit under that palm tree and eat that. It's going to cool them off, it's going to refresh them, and so the day isn't lost. They can continue throughout the amusement park. So they like the profit motive of it, but they also like that it keeps people in the park. One interesting thing that happened to me when we moved down to Florida 8 years ago, we had in New York, based on ice cream, we had what I called the fat wars. If you're selling 14% fat, which is a very high ice cream, I'm going to sell 16, just so I can say I'm the richest ice cream in New York. Like Haagen-Dazs, who we put into business, and Ben & Jerry, who we put into business, 16% is what they're running up north. You take a 16% ice cream and sell it down here in Florida in this 107-degree heat with 100% humidity, and you're going to have customers dropping dead in front of your store, which doesn't look good unless you're interested in selling EMS more ice cream. So we don't want that happening. It's bad for business. So I found out that the ice cream parlors down here run a lower fat, somewhere around a 10 or a 12%, so that the product is more refreshing. Well, even more refreshing than that is Italian ice. And the food cost on this is about, what would you say, Rod, about 2.5, 3 cents an ounce?
Yes, it is.
About 2.5,
Yeah.
3 cents an ounce. So
Exactly.
if it was 3 cents, 4 ounces, that's 12 cents. You're selling it for a minimum of $1.50. That's a lot of profit. And it's very refreshing. So it's a perfect summertime product. You pretty much can't give it away in January in Minnesota. They're just not going to buy it. But in January in Minnesota, you can be making mango sorbet and sell it to the restaurants, so you can have a year-round business. But it's a wonderful way to get into business, and with the CB350, which makes, as you saw before, the Italian ice, we called it a wine sorbet. All my machines make ices and ice cream. No matter what size you buy, it's the same quality, it's just different capacities. How much are you going to make in 8 minutes or 6 minutes, 16 minutes? So, Rod, I'll stop talking again and let you get back to your next flavor.
You're going to stop talking, Steve?
I'm going to try, but did you want me to help you there?
You keep talking.
That's all right. I'll let you go.
I'm making.
I'll let you go. You know, I can see Ken over there is getting ready to pot down my microphone.
What we're going to make now is a classic Philadelphia-style ice. This is just water, sugar, and water ice base. So this recipe here is 1.5 gallons of water, 1.5 pounds of sugar, and 1 quart of water ice base. And this will give you the style that Steve was talking about that goes in this cabinet, that because there's no stabilization, it's going to break down after a period of time. You need to stir it and put it in these little Dixie cups here. Do we still call them Dixie cups?
No, squeeze cup.
Squeeze cups.
Well, pleated water cup.
Pleated water cup.
Term.
Okay. That's good mango, isn't it?
Oh, it's great.
Putting into that, in this batch, the classic.
This is a water, sugar, and water ice base. So we're going to use a cherry water ice base here. Okay, so it's 1.5 gallons of water, 1.5 pounds of sugar, 1 quart of water ice base.
One question that always comes up while you're getting that ready, Rod, is do I need to purify my water? And it's a great question. Up here in Brooksville, Florida, we have a proliferation of horses and cows and pigs, but not a lot of people. We don't have any tourists coming through. So and the water is like liquid rock. It's got so many minerals in it, it's undrinkable. But if you grew up here, and if you've always lived here, and I make you an Italian ice with this water, I don't need to purify the water because you're used to the water. It's what you've been drinking all your life. You think it's fine. Now, I go down to Miami, and the water is just as awful as Brooksville, Florida, but everybody in Miami is from the north. They're down on vacation. And in that case, you need to purify the water. You've got to take those minerals out so that it tastes like what they're used to. In New York, we have the world's best water. Our filtration system starts up in the Catskill Mountains. It consists of a screen where the water flows through and it catches the old worn-out tires and dead bodies and anything else that happens to be in the water. And then it goes on its way down to Manhattan, and it's just a great, great water. But in Miami, they don't have that, and New Yorkers want to have it. It's like you've always heard, if you want a bagel, you got to come to New York. You can't bake a bagel in Florida. It's impossible because the water's not right. So you need to purify your water to make a great Italian ice if you're in Miami. If you're in Dubuque, Iowa, and they've never even heard of an Italian, you're not going to have to purify your Italian water ice. An easy way to do it is a Culligan water system. GE also makes them. They're relatively inexpensive for what they do, and it'll take all those minerals out of the water and give you just a nice neutral water. You don't need to buy gallon jugs or 5-gallon jugs of purified water. Just run it through a normal, inexpensive filtration system, and you'll have a great product.
Okay.
I did.
So here comes the water.
Hopefully I don't miss.
We're making it, well, that's okay.
Should have left the date open.
I looked. It may be 20 years, but I didn't forget that part.
Now, see what Rod's doing. If you look closely, he's not resting the container on the lip because that tends to make water fly out in all directions. But by raising it up a little bit, you'll never drop any.
And you notice that we pre-mixed the sugar and water so it incorporates well. What I like to do is actually add a little warm water. That helps the sugar go into solution much faster. Okay, we're going to eyeball this.
You bet.
You have some cherries?
You did a great job last time. I've got cherries.
So 1 quart.
Just a quart, huh? So less than the last one.
Good to go.
So you hit the green button.
12.
Yeah. And we turn this on. Now we're freezing. We're off to the races. Any questions so far? Ken, you got any questions out in the audience? Okay.
It is quiet today. So at the I.Rice company, known as leaders in the water ice industry, Rice is also recognized as being a leader of high-quality fruit products. Another segment of their business is bakery fillings, and a producer of high-end bakery fillings. So that translates into high-end fruit products in the ice cream side. So Rice makes a whole line of fruit toppings that are just packed with fruits, and you know, I love the purists like Steve and Jeff here and Malcolm who say, let's, you know, use frozen strawberries, use fresh pineapple, and you should do that whenever you can. But there are times when you may not be going through enough product where you have to use a product that's pasteurized to some degree. And Rice would be someone you want to look at, especially on the fruit side. That being said, since I've joined the company, we're trying to remarket the company and have people recognize Rice as a leader in the flavor industry. So we're starting to develop lines of flavorings for ice cream. You know, I was 30 years with another company called Oringer. I helped to take that company nationally. My family wrote a number of recipes in the ice cream industry. So what I'm doing is taking the old style recipe, and what I found is a lot of the manufacturers out there today are not making the quality of ingredients that they used to. So what I've tried to do at Rice is incorporate old style ingredients. So we're making a black raspberry puree and a red raspberry puree that has a really high fruit content, high level of a quality natural flavor. We're making a strawberry puree the way people used to make it, with about 65% fruit. It's just shredded fruit, natural flavor, and sugar. We're making stabilized strawberries now that is second to none in the industry. And let me digress for a second to strawberries. Some people like to use frozen fruit in ice cream or fresh fruit. I myself am against that. The reason is when you use fresh or frozen fruit, you get a crystallization. You get natural water in the in the fruit, so you're going to get a crystallization in the ice cream. Manufacturers like us, and we're not the only ones, who make a stabilized processed fruit, where when we cook the product, we're driving out the moisture and infusing the product with sugar. So when you put a pasteurized fruit in the ice cream, you're getting a soft bite and no crystallization around the ice cream. So you get a much higher quality product in the end. So my recommendation is, if you can get a pasteurized fruit, peaches, strawberries, that's the way I would go. Again, many people want to use the fresh fruit of the season, and that's okay. That works. Some of the other items that we're producing at Rice today are some variegates, a chocolate variegates, with Jeff and Steve will be showing you how to variegate tub ice cream. We're making a variety of other extracts, but my concept is just to bring back the way products used to be made. Right now we're at about 12 to 15 ingredients and producing more. If any of you have any ideas on flavors that you'd like to see in the industry, let me know, because that's how we build our library. Oh, I can already hear it, Steve.
Okay, so you're getting ready for the fruit? You're gonna need a knife?
Yeah.
You have one?
Every man carries a knife.
Of course we do.
Italian ice increasing as a market share of overall ice cream products?
The question was, is Italian ice increasing as a market share? Absolutely.
Significantly.
Yeah, our markets,
Yes.
since we moved out of New York and got away from the unions and the high taxes in New York, we've been going up about 40% a year in sales. And a large part of that is Italian ice. Because it's so inexpensive to get into. You know, putting it in simple terms, a machine, a sink, and a serving cabinet. And then when that starts generating money, which is my whole goal with my customers, is get the money rolling in, then you can do just about anything. And then you can go later into ice creams.
Give you an idea on costs and why Italian ice is so successful out there today. You know, your costs are, as Steve said, 2, 3, 4 cents an ounce on sorbet or water ice. Your cost on ice cream, 30 to 38 cents per ounce. You're selling it at the same price. So where are you making more profit? Cost on Italian ice or sorbet is roughly 3-4 cents an ounce. Cost on ice cream is between 30 and 38 cents an ounce. So much more highly profitable in the ice business.
Now you see what I'm doing. You can't do this with any other machine. They all have a little opening like that. You'd have to puree everything first. My opening on my machines is so big that everything gets dumped right in. Also, our barrels are 6 times thicker than any other machine on the market. If you have a thin barrel like a spaghetti pot, which all the other people make, putting in nuts, cookies, candies, it's going to damage the barrel. They'll even void your warranty. We welcome it. We want you to put in whole bags of Oreo cookies, walnuts, peppermint candy, anything you want can go right into the machine. The other reason why it's so successful is in this down economy, a family of 4, 2 children, 2 adults, they can't afford to go out to dinner, let alone go to a movie. And if you've had children, you know you've got to entertain them somehow. So to take them out on a Friday night or a Saturday night for an Italian ice is a great outing. The whole family gets to go out, and Dad isn't being killed by the price. One of the things that absolutely destroyed Cold Stone Creamery is one of my employees would go out with his wife and 2 kids, and they'd walk into Cold Stone and they'd drop $40, $45 because the ice cream was so expensive. They preset what you were going to buy. You didn't have a lot of latitude. And my employee making, $18, $20 an hour on the assembly line says, I just dropped 43 bucks at that frozen dessert business. I'm never going back. You get one chance to sell people, and if the product isn't good or the price is too high, they're not coming back. This product, everybody can afford it. It's a universal product. If you came to me and want to open up an ice cream parlor, and I told you location was everything, I would mean that I want you in the richest town, on the best street in your state. That's what I need for an ice cream parlor. For Italian Ice, I can open up in the poorest section of town, and I'm going to do just a land office business. It's that easy. There's another thing about Italian Ice, and I got to put this delicately, but it's a fact. There is no other product that I know that you can tell what people are going to buy pretty much when they walk in the door. If 3 people walk into my factory today and I have to guess what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, I can't do it. I have no idea what you like. But Italian Ice, if 3 people walk in, if you're black, it's going to be cherry or grape. If you're Hispanic, it's going to be coconut. If you're Irish, it's going to be Italian. If you're a Presbyterian like me, we form a committee to make the decision for us. But that's the way it is. So what does this mean for you? It means that, okay, today we're going to take our push cart and do the San Gennaro Festival down in Little Italy in Manhattan. Hey, bring lemon ice. Don't bother bringing chocolate. Only Jewish people buy chocolate ice in New York. If you're doing the Puerto Rican Day Parade up on 5th Avenue, bring the coconut flavors. It's really pretty simple. You can't do it with coffee. You can't do it with hamburgers. But Italian Ice, if I know that I'm going into South Central LA, I'm going to bring fruit-flavored ices like the mango and kiwi and products like that.
Steve, there's certainly validity to that, because the further you move away from urban America, the less you'll have those ethnic fruits being sold. You'll see Italian ices and sorbets sold in rural America, but they're going to be your classic, lemon and raspberry. You move into urban America, mango, coconut, like that. So, valid point.
The views expressed by these people do not represent the universal views of America.
Cop out.
So let's talk about cost again for a minute, and trends in the industry. Your question was about trends. Italian Ice is a low-cost, high-volume item. What I've seen over the years, and being at this for 30-something years, dessert segments come and go. Right now, we're seeing a serve-yourself yogurt trend. Tart yogurts, loaded up, sell by ounce. And I'm all about selling by weight, but these yogurt places take the cake, because by the time you walk out of there, you're doing the same thing as Cold Stone. You're spending $40, $45 for your family. 15 years ago, 12 years ago, when was the last yogurt trend? TCBY,
Late
Freshens.
1970s.
Okay, they came out the same way the yogurt trends are coming out now. There were probably 15 chains going within a matter of a couple years. They're all gone. They were gone in 3 years. The only one that lasted was TCBY, and they've totally changed their format. They've gone to sell by weight. My point to this is Italian Ice has had a continued growth in the marketplace, from something like 0.5% to maybe 6-7% of market share now. The product that's here to stay forever is hard ice cream, gourmet ice cream. That never goes away. It continues to sell in the industry. So if you supplement, you take a gourmet ice cream stand and supplement it with ice, you're going to be, as long as you're an owner-operator, and this is very important, if you're an owner-operator, you can be very successful in this business. You can make a lot of money. Don't think you're going to get in this business. It's not lovely.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, give me a break.
Don't think you're going to survive in this business by getting a manager to run your shop and have some kids running around scooping ice cream. It's not going to work that way. Okay.
All right, come on up and try this. I think you'll like it. I know you'll like it.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Your name's Jeff?
Rod.
Rod, I'm sorry. So
And after this, we're going to take a 10-minute Starbucks break while we all get some coffee,
they're like
and then we'll regroup and turn it over to Tie-Dye Jeff, who's going to make M&M ice cream with a bit of a twist to it. He won't tell me what that is. So Ken, if you want to pot down our microphones, we'll be back in 10 minutes.